I have 24 Mafex figures and you get to see them all starting right now. First up, we have the only two figures I have that aren't comic book figures from Mafex. They are the Boba Fett from The Return of the Jedi, as well as the Boba Fett from The Empire Strikes Back. I picked them up because I continued hearing all the time from everybody, these are the best Bobas ever, but you can tell they're earlier Mafex. Here we have the Jedi one, getting a nice close look. You can tell that just because they're a little loose and a little weird in some spots. They don't come with as many accessories, but they still really look the part. Then, of course, you've got my favorite of the Bobas. It's the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, which is the most just evil-looking Boba Fett. And that's how I prefer my Bobas. I kind of prefer them evil. I prefer them mean. I clearly prefer them with my shadow in front of the light a little bit there for a minute. But yeah, man, these guys look the part. They're great standing there. They just might not have quite as much articulation as some of the other figures I'll show. Steel is my top Mafex figure from 2023. This guy is simply where it's at. This is Mafex firing on all cylinders. Look at the shine on the suit. It's absolutely wonderful. The little bits of blue in there, just the tinge of blue you see with the real kind of gray steel look in there. It just works really well. His shoulder pads look crazy heavy, but they're pretty light, so they move out of the way really easily for the articulation. And his cape might be the first cape I ever got with a wire on the sides and the bottom. Next up are the only two X-Force figures that Mafex has done so far. We have Deadpool and Wolverine, and guess what, folks? Neither of these are repaints, and both of them move exceedingly well, although I will say, Deadpool has a little bit less arm range at the elbow than a lot of Mafex figures do. But he's got so much character, and one of the big things people complained about that I didn't show here is the fact that he didn't come with guns. But he did come with hands that have trigger fingers on them. So if you have any guns in your collection, and I imagine you do, you might be able to find some for the Merc with a mouth. I still want to get the red Mafex Deadpool, but right now, Wade here fills in quite nicely. And Wolverine on most days is probably about my favorite character out there. So this was necessary for me. The way that they made him work here, the way his claws are in this suit are a little different than they are for the brown and the tiger stripe suits, but they executed it incredibly well, just the way they pop out of the hands, the sculpt along the boots. I really like the wrinkles in his shirt. Like, they just crushed it. Or I guess more accurately, in his suit. Good stuff. Still digging the video, huh? Do you also dig action figure photography? If so, scan the QR code to get your free action figure photography guide and get signed up for the Toypixx newsletter so you get to keep up with all the Toypixx things. Now, back to the video. Here we have your basic Marvel characters, which is really cool that Mafex is doing. I'm digging the fact that we're starting to look like we can build out the Marvel Universe with Mafex. We're supposed to get a Captain America this year to round out the Avengers a bit more. We're supposed to get Daredevil. I'm just really stoked. These are figures that I've wanted in my collection for forever. Ever since I sold off my Marvel Legends cap, I needed a cap desperately. I love the character, so I can't wait for that to come out. Iron Man here, I know it seems a lot of people didn't like the way the shoulders were done to make it so he could fire straight forward. I think it was a great way to engineer it, so I'm pretty stoked about him. Although I don't like the way the waist is. You can see a little too much going from the upper half to the lower half. You got the classic comic Spidey, who's an incredible figure. You've got Thor, who's a less incredible figure. He still looks great, but he's just undersized compared to the rest. And then you've got sad symbiote Spidey. Poor Pete. He's such a sad individual. It kind of makes me sad, but not really, because I really dig having the figure. There's something about a black and white costume that's just really cool. Now here they all are, a little bit on the back there. But yeah, man, I'm just really excited that they're going to be continuing out, fleshing out the Marvel Universe in 2024. And speaking of fleshing out the Marvel Universe, here we have my 90s X-Men collection. And these are what I want. I so desperately want Mafex to go in and make us a beast and a rogue. I know a lot of people are saying Jubilee. I take her as well. I take Colossus, Iceman, Archangel, Bishop. Just round out the blue and gold team. Here we have Scott. I love the finish on Cyclops here. Though I do agree with most that the way that the strap is makes it awfully tough to get articulation going because it's just too tight. And so bending him back at the waist, you expose a lot of blue. So it's not quite right. Jean she's a good figure, but she's one of my least favorite Mafex figures just because of whatever was going on between the shoulder and the head. I think it might be the hair when it comes to her, honestly. But yeah, there's something I just don't dig with that figure as much as most. Still, I think she's cool. She's just not as cool as most of them. But then we've got Magneto, who is my second favorite Mafex figure of this year, and I am super stoked. Like, with Cyclops, I never need another Cyclops. With Magneto, I never need another Magneto. With Jean, if we just got a new head pack, I'd probably be pretty stoked. But I absolutely adore that figure. Hopefully you have him, because if you don't, you have to buy a bunch of Marvel Legends to make your perfect, or just get it all in one go. Now here's the crown jewel here. My brown suit Wolverine. I am a big fan of that figure. Just because I loves me some Wolverine, and I missed out on the tiger stripe. Now, Storm is one of my absolute favorites. All the accessories she came with were ridiculous, and they work wonderfully with her. Psylocke, you would hope she could pose a little better than she does, but the shine on her suit makes her incredible for photography. And Gumbo, with his trench coat, it's so much fun. Like, Gambit is another figure that you just never will need another version of him. He's perfect. There are so many perfect figures that Mafex makes that, well, it makes me cry happy tears. Today's Patreon freebie was suggested to me by a Toypixx Patreon member, Jonathan Childress, who said, "Hey, Photo Dave, make a coral reef background." So that's what I did right here, because, hey, figures such as Torpedo, or maybe if you were lucky enough to load up on eels, you've got characters that need to hang out in the water. Maybe Shipwreck can be doing stuff. I don't know. As always, this is totally free, so go ahead and scan the QR code if you dig it, go get it, and look around the Toypixx Patreon page, because everything I post there is free. There might be something there that you dig. Now, to my very favorite subline in my entire collection. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Medicom Mafex's Batman Hush line. This is my absolute favorite subline in my entire collection. And as I am looking at what else is coming for this line and what all I didn't pick up, I didn't get Hush, I didn't get Batman in his flight suit. We've got 3 more characters coming. This line's going to have 13 figures in it, which is nuts. And Harley here, well, she's one of them. And she is an absolutely perfect Harley Quinn. I'll get it out of the way now. I love my Marvel Mafex figures, but somebody on the DC team, the people they put together there, they nail absolutely everything. There's not a single figure on here I'll ever need to replace, like with a potentially better version. Like, here's Nightwing, for instance. Talk about nailing simplicity. They absolutely crushed it. But yeah, like, the only figure on here, in fact, that I would say, well, maybe if they did this, I'd get another one. It's not because of the figure itself. It's not even because of the storyline itself. It's Superman, because dag nabbit, I need a Superman that just looks a little happier. But the figure is absolutely perfect from the Batman Hush standpoint. So I can't even be here and be ticked off about it. It's still a phenomenal Superman, as is this black Batman repaint of the original blue and gray Hush Batman. It's so good, guys. And this Catwoman, honestly, is probably my very favorite female figure in the whole collection. Like the finish they put on her is perfect for a Catwoman. And there's the figure. That blue and gray Batman Hush is the one that completely changed my action figure collecting trajectory. He is why I'm a Mafex snob. Now, Huntress here, phenomenal figure. I get the complaints about the shorts because they're not comic accurate, and her hand falls off, and that's a little irritating, but still, she's just great. I dig her a lot, and I really dig this version of the Joker. And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm a fan. And this line, folks, this line makes me so happy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Toypixx collection as of January 17th, 2024. And man, oh man, am I stoked with this thing. Also, man, oh man, this setup was a pain to set up. If you guys have ever tried setting up just a ton of figures, several just kept falling and they had to be repositioned. And after I set up the Hiss tank in the background, I'd forgotten that I needed to turn on the lights. So I had to move a bunch of the figures out of the way so I could get in there and turn on the lights. But yeah, regardless of those little tiny problems, this was a fun shot to set up, a fun video, a fun little, just, I suppose, snippet of pretty much the whole shebang. And I have to say, looking at these, there is not a single figure in this group that I'm looking at and thinking, hopefully they do a better one, or hopefully maybe, you know, I'll sell this one later in order to get something I dig more. No. Everything in this shot, I plan on holding on to for a very long time because all this stuff is just so good and makes me so insanely happy. But that's me. How about you? What about your collection? Are you really stoked about what you've got? Are you looking at selling some? Let me know in the comments because that's kind of a big deal. And still, man, you know, what do you have that really fires you up as far as your collection? What's the stuff you're looking forward to the most? I don't know. I have all these things I dig, and I just can't express how cool they are to sit here and just look at. This setup has long since been gone, but looking at it on video now, ooh, I am one happy collector. Yes, folks, that was part 3 of the Toypixx action figure collection. That's all of them. If you missed part 2, click the video right over there. Ooh, the magic of YouTube. As always, thanks a ton for hanging out and checking out the video. And until next time, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.